And again, so many people in this chamber, so many people in the White House, and perhaps even HHS don't seem to get it, that the real progress, the real advances are being made in the realm of adult stem cells, and those kinds of advances are being made each and every day. And Mr. Forbes is the prime sponsor of some very, very important legislation dealing with adult stem cells, which I hope he will elaborate on. But Mr. Forbes.
Well, thank you, Congressman Smith, and I also want to thank Congressman Fortenberry for his comments, and to begin by saying that many of us come to this debate for different reasons, some because of philosophical reasons, some for political reasons. I come to it for a rather personal reason. My father, about 5 years ago, died from Parkinson's disease. My brother currently has Parkinson's disease. So it's near and dear to my heart, but what's most important is I don't need political debates or political rhetoric. What I need is some cures, or I need someone who can provide some way of treating those illnesses. And if you just step back and take a moment, as Congressman Smith has pointed out, we find that all of the major breakthroughs have been with adult stem cells, not with embryonic cells. In fact, I have here a scorecard, and I know no one can see this in the body tonight, but if you showed the victories for peer-reviewed studies from adult stem cells, you would have 73 different illnesses that have been treated successfully with adult stem cells. And then if you look on the embryonic side, you would find 0 over there. And one of the exciting things for us as we look through this debate is, as I travel around, I find, Congressman, as I know you do, that a lot of people really do not understand the difference between the two, because the debate gets muddled many times. But as Congressman Fortenberry pointed out so correctly to us, we really have now 3 major types of cells that we're talking about. We're talking about the adult stem cells, which have absolutely no ethical problems and have shown all of the benefits for really dealing with illnesses. We then have the embryonic stem cells, which have a number of ethical concerns and have shown absolutely no benefits in treating illnesses. And now we have the induced pluripotent stem cells, or the iPS cells, which are ethical because they, I think, Congressman, as you mentioned, really come back from the adult cells as we work back and reprogram those, and they have all the capacity of the embryonic cells without any of the ethical problems. So really what we have is a situation where the science in this whole discussion has outpaced the debate, and the science has now proven that we really don't need the research for the embryonic stem cells. But in a day and age when every day we get up and we see so much negative news, there is some exciting good news, as Congressman Smith pointed out, and I'd like tonight just to talk about some of those great advances that we've seen. First of all, in 2007, the Journal of the American Medical Association published a study on the first stem cell treatment for diabetes patients, and researchers from Northwestern University and Brazil performed a clinical trial with 15 diabetic patients, and 13 of the 15 patients with type 1 diabetes were insulin-free after receiving an adult stem cell transplant using blood stem cells. In 2002, doctors treated a patient for Parkinson's disease with his own neural stem cells, and this is the world's first clinical trial using stem cells for the treatment of Parkinson's disease. Doctors actually isolated the patient's stem cells, induced them to differentiate into the desired nervous system cells, and implanted them back into the patient's brain. Just a few weeks ago, a study on this treatment was published in the Bentham Open Stem Cell Journal, and the study outlines the long-term results of this trial. For the 5 years following the procedure, the patient's motor skills improved by over 80% for at least 36 months. Now, a word of caution must be added that since this is a single case study, a larger clinical trial is needed to replicate these findings and assess their long-term sustainability. But notwithstanding, this is an incredible scientific breakthrough. In 2006, the Journal of Spinal Cord Medicine reported a treatment for spinal cord injury using adult stem cells. A doctor in Portugal transplanted nasal stem cells into 7 patients with spinal cord injury. Following the procedure, these patients regained some motor function and sensation, and 2 patients showed bladder control improvement. I understand that the FDA recently approved a clinical safety trial using human embryonic stem cells for newly injured spinal cord patients. However, it's important to note that this is not a treatment, but only approval to begin experiments with humans to test for safety. On the contrary, this 2006 study demonstrates actual patient treatment using adult stem cells. And all of these studies show that stem cells can be derived from human cells and used to successfully treat patients, all while maintaining ethical standards. Advancing scientific development and protecting life do not have to be opposing forces. And in just a brief summary, I'd like to respond to another question that Congressman Smith had, or suggestion he had, and that is that we talk about the Patients First Act, which is a bipartisan bill that was introduced previously. It is now H.R. 877, the Patient First Act, which has been introduced in the 111th Congress. It was originally introduced by Congressman Lipinski from Illinois and myself as H.R. 2807. And as we step back, for those of us with loved ones who suffer from these illnesses, as I did with my father and I currently do with my brother, it just makes common sense that we'd like to do a couple of things. First of all, we'd like to get as much research as we can to the problem and not just floating out for some hypothetical research. And the second thing is, we don't want all the theories around, we don't want all the political posturing. What we want is cures in today's time so that we can get them to these patients and they can impact their lives. And so we wrote a bill that did something that's really novel. It used some common sense, and it just said, what would happen if, for a change, instead of worrying about what all of the interest groups wanted, we put the patients first? And if you put the patients first, you ask one simple question of the NIH. You simply ask them to do this. Tell us which research, either on the adult stem cells or embryonic stem cells, is going to get the most near-term clinical benefits for the patients. And that's where we want to laser in our money. That's where we want to focus in our money, because that gives us the greatest opportunity for a cure and certainly for treatment. I am convinced if you do that, right now the scorecard would be 73 for the adult stem cells and 0 for the embryonic stem cells. But as Congressman Smith has so accurately stated, even if you say there is research potential with the embryonic stem cells, there's actually no reason why we couldn't use the iPS cells to do all of that without one bit of ethical problem. So, Congressman, I want to just tell you tonight, in this world of bad news, there's some exciting news out there of what we're seeing. I think patients have reason today to hope if we just do our job and we say, let's get off of the divisive debate that has marred this whole area for so long. Let's concentrate on where we can put our research to help patients. And in so doing, I think we'll end up doing the research with the adult stem cells, and the promise there, I think, is really limitless now for what our patients will see. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to yield back my time.
Thank you.